Have you ever been asked this in a job interview? Tell me about a time when you didn't agree with your boss. What would you say? This is what's called a behavioral interview question, and it's a common tactic. Employers use this kind of question to explore your fit for a job based on your past experience. It can be an easy question to answer if you have the right strategy. I show you how to answer these gotcha questions in our free Max List guide, 100 Behavioral Interview Questions You Need to Know. To get your copy, visit maxlist.org/questions. You'll also learn 4 simple steps for answering any behavioral interview question. Again, that's maxlist.org/questions. You can count on getting these questions in your next interview. Why not get the answers before you walk into the interview room? Go to maxlist.org/questions. This is Find Your Dream Job, the podcast that helps you get hired, have the career you want, and make a difference in life. I'm your host, Mac Pritchard. I'm also the founder of Max List. It's a job board in the Pacific Northwest that helps you find a fulfilling career. One of the best ways to get good at job hunting is to talk to people who do it well. That's why once a month, I interview a Max List reader who found a job they love. Our guest today is Katie Barberis. They are the fundraising associate at Our Just Future. It's a social services nonprofit in Portland, Oregon. Katie Barberis has seen at firsthand the difference networking can make in a job search. In a story you can find on the Max List website, Katie says they learned about the job they have now at Our Just Future from a former supervisor who worked there. Katie, why do you love your job?
I love my job because I can see the everyday differences that we're making in our community. The job that I do directly supports the funding possibilities at Our Just Future, and I love supporting people and our community.
And tell us about Our Just Future and the work your organization does.
Our Just Future builds and operates affordable housing. We also provide shelter services for women identifying folks, and families. We provide wraparound services into career coaching, case management, and rent support.
And your career has been in nonprofit fundraising, Katie. What led you to do this work?
It was actually my mom. I was raised in a church. We did a lot of fundraisers and community events within our organization, and that call to service drew me into the career that I am in now, and everything that I've done has been in service of the community, and that's why I love what I do.
Well, let's talk about your job search. What was the biggest challenge you faced when you were looking for the position you have now?
My biggest challenge was experience. I was a stay-at-home mom for a really long time before coming back into the workforce. And it wasn't until I started volunteering with different agencies that I was able to make connections.
And did the volunteering help you overcome that challenge? Or did you take other steps as well?
Volunteering definitely helped me overcome some of the challenges. It definitely provided an opportunity to meet people who worked in the community. And I was able to showcase my talents, talk about my history in fundraising and events and community support work, and then continue moving up from there.
When you were doing your volunteer work, Katie, how did you select the places where you did volunteer, and how did you leverage those opportunities to help you in your job search?
I wanted to do direct service and work directly with folks. My first volunteering back in Portland was with Blanchet House. And I just happened to be volunteering the same day that Emily Coleman was volunteering. And she's previously the volunteer coordinator at Transition Projects. And after volunteering with her at Blanche a couple of times and just chatting about what I do and where I'm at in life, I ended up volunteering with transition projects. And then she remembered who I was. They knew they needed help in the development team. And I came in from there and started volunteering for them and eventually took on a part time position with the development team. And that's how I met my supervisor who brought me into Our Just Future.
And what advice do you have for listeners who are volunteering for an organization and might want to work there? That can be a tricky transition sometimes. What worked in your experience?
In my experience, it was just building those relationships, showcasing that I was capable of doing the work, but also eager to learn more and take on a reasonable amount of work that calls for a volunteer.
At some point, did you learn about the job that the volunteering led you to get? And did the employer approach you? How did that happen exactly?
Yes, the employer approached me. They were looking to fill a role pretty immediately. And so I was happy to jump in at transition projects. And I worked on contract for them for a while. And then Our Just Future just happened to be hiring for a fundraising associate. And my previous supervisor sent me a message and said, "Hey, you got to check this out on Mac's list and apply for the job. You'd be perfect."
And it was that connection with your the supervisor that came about through networking that led to you learning about that job, wasn't it?
Exactly.
What advice do you have for listeners who want to build those kinds of networks that can lead you to learning about opportunities, whether advertised or unadvertised?
It's really about the relationship building, putting yourself out there and being able to communicate with folks and just say what you're interested in and hope they remember your name in the room.
Do you have some favorite networking techniques that you found to be effective in your career that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I'm a big fan of sending out thank you emails and cards and just following up with folks so they remember who you are and you can continue to build that relationship with them.
What is it about those thank you notes and your efforts to stay in touch with people in your network have that make them effective? Why do you think they lead to people telling you about opportunities?
People appreciate effort. They appreciate that you've taken the time out of your day to acknowledge the opportunities that they maybe have provided for you or that you had a wonderful experience with them. So writing those thank you notes just shows them your level of commitment and effort. And I think that that really goes a long way.
When you heard about the opportunity at Our Just Future, how did you know it was the right fit for you?
I knew it was the right fit for me because I had really been building my career to permanent employment. So this job was a permanent position that was important to me. But also, the values of our agency align with my values. And I was really excited to work with an agency that walks their talk.
Many job seekers can get discouraged when you don't see immediate results. How did you stay motivated during your job search, Katie?
That reminding myself that every effort towards a new job will lead me to permanent employment. Just because I'm not hearing back right away doesn't mean that there isn't a job out there that isn't meant for me.
In your article for us, you talked about the importance of being open to opportunities. What does this look like in practice? How did you act on that idea in your own job search?
If I hadn't volunteered at Blanche House, had my communication with Emily Coleman, and didn't communicate back with her when she reached out to ask if I wanted to volunteer at transition projects, I would not be where I'm at today. But because I stayed on top of emails and saw that they needed that support because could make myself available to volunteer with them, it jump started me to where I am now in my career.
If a listener might be struggling to make those kinds of connections that you created, or is interested in breaking into a field that they haven't worked in the past, do you have a first step that you would recommend they take?
Don't be afraid of cold calling and doing informational interviews. We are all here to support one another, and I haven't met someone who wasn't interested in sitting down and having a conversation with me.
Sometimes I hear from job seekers that they struggle to get calls back or get others to agree to informational interviews. What worked for you, Katie? How did you make those conversations happen and get people to return your calls or respond to your emails when you were networking during your job search?
I like to put out specific asks. So saying, can I meet you at this place at this time? Could you provide 3 available times that you might be available to meet with me? Making it very specific so that they can see how interested you are in that informational interview and that this isn't just something I want to do.
Finally, Katie, what's your number one job hunting tip?
Don't stop trying. You never know what's available.
Well, thank you for sharing your job search story, Katie. To learn more about Katie's job search, visit maxlist.org/stories. And check out the MaxList website for dozens of other success stories. On the second Friday of every month, we add a new interview with a MaxList reader who's found a dream job. Go to maxlist.org/stories. In the meantime, thank you for listening to today's bonus episode of Find Your Dream Job. This show is produced by MaxList. Susan Thornton Hoff schedules our guests and writes our newsletter. Lisa Kislenberry Anderson manages our social media. Our sound engineer and editor is Matt Biorillo. Don Moore creates our transcripts, and our music is by Freddie Trujillo. This is Mac Pritchard. See you next week.